Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have my planner journal here, and I'm going to tell a story that reveals the mystery hidden within its pages. Hi everyone, Patty here. This story and adventure is about finding the flower crystal hawthorn. As the story unfolds throughout the journal, its many pages, hidden pockets, and cubbyholes, I will reveal the written and illustrated story of this wonderful adventure. As with my usual videos, I will explain how I created my journal along with telling this exciting story. I think we're going to have some fun. It unhooks with a clamp and long chain that gives plenty of room for growth and expansion. When I open the journal, I like to clamp it at the top of my cover as I flip through the pages. These pieces are some of my molds where I have used caulk, glue, and gilding wax to achieve this steampunk look. My story is about these three young girls and their quest to find the flower, the crystal hawthorn. It was a cold, wet morning when Emily woke up to head off on her daily routine. She packed her work apron with the essentials: test tubes, goggles, bags, gauges, and water. Reality is far from her thoughts as she was excited to head to work this day with several new samples of plants she had found to make ink. When she heard a knock at the front door, as she opened the door, there stood Isabel smiling from ear to ear. "Emily, you must see a new flower sample that was sent to me." "What is so special about this new sample?" As Isabel shows her the flower, Emily's eyes widen with excitement. "Is this it? Is this really the crystal hawthorn?" "I don't know, Emily. Let's test it." As both grab their coats and head for the art studio, where all of her supplies are for testing and extracting the pigment from the flowers. With much anticipation, they enter the studio and set up the experiment on the flower. Emily sets up beakers, test tubes, and a Bunsen burner. Emily reaches for the flower, and Isabella slowly puts her hand over hers. "This is the problem, Emily. This small piece of flower is all we have." Emily looks at her in disbelief. "What are we to do?" Isabella said, "Remember last month when we were at the gallery opening, we met the one lady who was a traveler, or was she a world explorer? I think her name was Abigail Nighthall. She said she had just returned from a trip in Europe, but that she is a world traveler and has explored all of the continents." Emily said, "What information do we have on where this flower was first located?" "The limited amount of paperwork we have on it shows that it is from a valley in Mexico, on the western coast or close to that region. We must find this Abigail Nighthall and explain our situation to her and see if she will help us. We will express to her how important and unique this one-in-a-million plant is. Let's go to the gallery, and maybe someone will have more information on her." With growing excitement, they made their way to the gallery to find a sign on the front door that said closed. They could not help themselves, but rang the bell and knocked anyway. An elderly woman answered the door with a stern voice and said, "The gallery's not open at this time." And both women could not restrain themselves, and they blurted out, "We must get a hold of Abigail Nighthall." The lady peeked around the corner of the door and looked at them like, "Why would you want to get a hold of her?" She said, "You must get a hold of Harry Rinaldo." "I believe he lives in Greenwich Village." With that, she shut the door firmly. With firm resolve, they turned to start their walk 10 blocks east to a very different part of town. Jazz music playing from an open window, and smoke filled the air upon arriving at the village. They enter a small but unique art gallery, where a young lady behind the counter looked up. They told her, "We are looking for Abigail Nighthall or Harry Rinaldo." She answered, "Yeah, Harry. He'll be 2 blocks up the street at the Circle Gallery. He's always there." As they enter the Circle Gallery, there is a young man standing by a window, using the light to paint a picture. "Excuse me, do you know an Abigail Nighthall or a Harry Rinaldo?" "Yeah, I'm Harry. What can I do for you?" "We urgently need to find Abigail Nighthall." And he answered, "What would be this urgent need?" They said, "Well, we really need to talk to Abigail." Harry responded, "I could get a hold of Abigail. Why don't you come back here tonight around 7 p.m.? It being only 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the two decide to take care of other business and meet back at 7 p.m. As Emily walked up the street, she saw Isabel standing at the gallery. They both just arrived there at 7, and they found the gallery lights off and the door ajar. They knocked softly and asked if anyone was there. No answer. A little louder, "Is anyone there?" Still no answer, but they saw a light towards the back of the gallery. So they pushed the door open and started towards the light. As they approached the light, the smoke was heavy in the air, and the sound of laughter and the talking of people as they entered the room. They could see one girl, who they assumed was Abigail, and 4 guys playing cards. "Just in time," Harry said. "One of you girls want to take my place in this card game? I'm losing fast." With that, Abigail looked up. Harry said, "You have a real emergency? What's up?" Emily, having a hard time containing her excitement, tells Abigail, "We are in need of someone to find a treasure for us." The word treasure grabs Abigail's attention, and Abigail says, "What would this treasure be?" Both Isabella and Emily speak at once, telling her of this unique and 1 in a million variety of flower that was found. Abigail says, "A flower?" And Emily says, "Not a flower, but a 1 in a million flower." Abigail says, "Is this flower valuable?" Emily says, "If this is really the crystal hawthorn flower we have been searching for, it is not only a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, but could also be extremely financially valuable." With this information, both Abigail and Harry become very interested. Abigail stands and says to Harry, "Let's go into the back room and talk. Harry, get us a drink." "Okay, ladies, what's the story?" Emily said. "I have looked for this flower for several years now, and this morning Isabella shows up at my doorstep with it." Abigail wants to know what the problem is, because it sounds like you already have the flower. Isabel unfolds her handkerchief and exposes a small, delicate, and beautiful flower, almost glowing with transparency. "This is the problem. This is all we have. Where was this found?" "In a small valley in Mexico, and we are told there are many more." "This is why we need you. Someone who has traveled the world, someone who knows how to explore all of the different obstacles, papers, and tracking that we will need for collecting this specimen." Harry said, "So it sounds like this may be an expensive trip. Who's paying for it?" Abigail says, "That is a very good question." Emily says, "Money would be one of the problems. The other would be, we need you to find it. We would need me to identify it, and Isabella to prove its authenticity." so all three of us must go." And Harry said, "You will need me because you women need a man around," and all the ladies chuckled. Emily said, "Would you be interested in putting together an adventure such as this?" Abigail, raising her glass, and said, "A toast, Mexico, here we come. Let's meet back here tomorrow at noon, and we will detail all the supplies and gear we will need, and I will get all the information on papers and traveling documents that we will have to have. This could cost quite a bit. Don't forget your purse, ladies." Harry said, "I have a bit of a surprise on how we will be able to travel." When the three ladies met back at the gallery at noon the next day, there was a note on the door from Harry: "Meet me at the south end of Central Park at 1 p.m. As they arrived at the park, they could not see Harry, but they could see a very large hot air balloon. It looked like the balloon was being ready as it was being filled with air. They drew closer to the balloon when suddenly Harry stood up in the basket. "What do you think, ladies?" As the ladies stood in surprise, all spoke at once. "Are you kidding?" Harry explained to them that not only would they control travel, but this was the only affordable way that they could make the trip. Abigail explains to them that she has obtained the proper written tracking and statements for collecting a rare specimen. Emily and Isabel have gathered all of the scientific equipment, and Harry says, "Sounds like we have everything for our trip. Let's head out." They load the balloon and head for a valley in Mexico. Abigail, charting the trip, figures it will be about a 12-hour flight as the crow flies. Leaving at the crack of dawn, they have a light but steady tailwind that helps make the trip very pleasant. As they approach the coordinates on the map, they look for a clearing to land. They bring the balloon into land, with Harry being surprisingly talented with handling the large form of transportation. As Harry secures the balloon, the three ladies set out on the trail according to the map. They push through some of the brush at the top of the hill, and a beautiful and majestic valley opens to them as they look below. Birds singing in the background, sounds like a melody never heard to human ears before. As they start down the hill, Emily and Isabella are in awe of all of the beautiful flora and fauna that surrounds them. A short distance away, they see a glistening pond, and the flowers that surround the pond are even more glistening and translucent than the water itself. As they draw closer, they realize the flowers surrounding the pond are the crystal hawthorn they have been searching for. Their paperwork allowed them to harvest 15 kilos, and they brought special equipment so it would be packaged and protected properly. Harry, having joined them, helped them harvest the 15 kilos and carry the specimens back towards the balloon. With the four of them, there was just enough room for the plants and equipment. It was starting to turn dark, but with the weather so pleasant, they decided to head back. As the balloon reached its traveling altitude, they snuggled in for the 12-hour journey home. The night sky, with all of its stars, painted a picture that looked as beautiful as the flowers that surrounded the pond. Arriving home, all four headed to Emily's art studio to begin testing and producing the special inks from the flowers. Emily slowly starts to separate the flower heads. Most of the vibrant color she was looking for would be from the anthers. She wanted to rupture the plant structure by slightly bruising the non-volatile compound. Emily worked slowly separating and preparing the flowers while Isabel documented every step she made. Abigail started her documentation of the terrain on papyrus to chart her technology for map making of the valley in Mexico they had discovered. This was a remarkable finding, and to be able to achieve the recognition from the finding, they could not leave any steps undone. They truly had found the crystal hawthorn. The ink was like nothing that Isabella and Emily had ever seen. The four of them had done it. They would not only have found the one in a lifetime discovery that would bring them financial reward, but would bring a creation to the art world like no other. Isabella, Abigail, and Harry were so excited and filled with laughter. Emily, upon reflection, brought a tear to her eye. She had done it. She had found the crystal hawthorn. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed.